Yeah, I hope we have some fun. I know I will have some fun. But I really appreciate you all taking a little bit of time just out of your busy days and all the things and just to come and hang out for a little bit. And hey, we got you out of the office. Is that a good thing? Yeah? So I just appreciate the fact that this university has been so welcoming to me. I love telling the UNOH story, by the way. I love it. I go all over the world and I get to brag on the people that work on our trucks. I get to brag on the relationship that we've had with you guys. And it's amazing too because, man, if I had the type of equipping that these students are getting, I feel like my whole story would have gone a lot more smoothly. and so I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the product that comes out of this university. So thank you all right? Thank you all. We're going to be talking about finding your next gear. I am obsessed with understanding what gets people stuck in life and how to get them unstuck and then finding their next gear. I'm obsessed with it. And it's probably because of my own story and where I come from. But before we do all of that, because I want to share my gear framework with you. But before we do all of that, we've got to have a little fun, would you say? Have any of you never been to a Monster Jam event? Has everyone been? Okay, perfect. Okay. So, but you've certainly seen the videos and stuff because you'd almost be forced to if you work at UNOH, right? You'd be forced. That's part of the onboarding process, I'm sure here. But I figured that I could show you and teach you how to drive a Monster Jam truck. Can we do that? All right. So the ones that have been to an event, I think the most exciting part is something called a Monster Jam save. And it's where the truck is out of control and is probably in the middle of a crash, but for some reason the driver was able to maybe be good, also be a little bit lucky, and do something driving it that pulls the truck back on all four tires. The crowd always goes crazy. It's like a fake out. We don't ever plan it, okay? But when it works, it's so good because I say the best Monster Jam moments are when you're a combination of lucky and good. And that's exactly what a Monster Jam save is, all right? Can I show you arguably my best save, probably my best moments in the sport? Can I show that to you? And then we're gonna break it down after, okay? Yeah, not bad, right? Not bad. Okay, but let's break this down for just a second, all right? Because when I came off of that jump, I knew I was coming off a little bit crooked, okay? So when I was landing, my whole mindset was, can I get some speed coming off of this pod? Do you see the roost of dirt coming off the back right tire? Okay, that's because I landed on the throttle. I knew if I just let the truck fall out of the air, there was a good chance it was just going to bounce and give me a bad rebound. So if I could get some speed and some momentum, because momentum is your friend in Monster Jam, I might be able to avoid the crash. At this point, I knew I was going for a ride. Okay, and my whole goal in this moment was to not get disoriented. All right, I wanted to try to figure out where the dirt was, where the stadium lights were, and just try to get my bearings if at all possible, and to be able to turn into the dirt. You see the front right tires? I was lucky enough that I knew where the dirt was. So the front right tires, I turned right, and all of a sudden I just gave it all the throttle I had. I was just trying to get the truck to move again. Again, momentum is your friend, that's right. I had no idea that pod was going to be there, all right? You talk about just fortunate, and it worked out, but as soon as it came around, I saw the stadium lights. I knew that, oh, this thing's working, it's working out. And so I get off of the throttle and I hit the brake. Because, yeah, momentum is your friend, but at some point, too much momentum is bad. And so that was my way to slow the truck down by stabbing the brake pedal and actually getting the truck to hopefully settle down. And it actually happened to work out, right? So let's watch it one more time at full speed. There you go, yeah. You're ready to do that now, right? Huh? Well, can't we set that up somewhere on the, look, I did the drift pad yesterday over there. I'm sure that we can, train some Monster Jam saves out of the group. But it's so interesting because I get to come around here and do this and kind of show you some of my highlights. But the reason why I love talking about being stuck like I do is because that was me. 8 years ago, I had Juck. I was very green to the sport. There were drivers who had no idea who I was because I only had one season under my belt. And when Great Clips came around, I was going into this full throttle. I really was. And I wanted to build as much momentum as I could. Nothing was going right. Like nothing was going right on the track. Nothing was going right off of the track. And I had left my big corporate career to do this full time that year because I was like, I can't go represent a brand the right way and do it halfway. And so I left my corporate career. I took a 30% pay cut because I saw the opportunity for motorsports and the platform of this and the ability to influence people. And I was all for it. A couple months in, I was like, have I made the worst mistake of my life? And I felt really stuck. In fact, it wasn't just, oh, this is how I felt. I let so much build up in me that I ended up in the emergency room. I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico at a Monster Jam event. I had crashed the night before. I woke up that next morning to a phone call from Monster Jam saying, hey, you've got to stop crashing. Keep it on all 4 tires. And I told him, I said, physically, I don't know if I could go through another crash today, was my answer. I felt like I was looking through a straw. And I had so much anxiety built up that the medics noticed something in me. They grabbed me, they sat me down, they put a heart monitor on me, and my heart rate was 180 over 120. 180 over 120. And in case you don't know if that's good or bad, that's really bad. Those are technically heart attack numbers. And it bumped up. After they told me what it went up to 200 over 140. And they told me, they said, we don't know, are you having a heart attack? Like they were checking on me, like, are you in the middle of a heart attack? And I'm like, no, I'm overwhelmed. I feel like I can't breathe. And they said, if you will let us, we want to take you right now. Can we transport you? Oh no, this is ridiculous, right? I started talking about this is crazy. And then I was letting the anxiety build up, and then finally I called my dad, and I said, this is what's going on. Do you think I should go? He said, of course. He said, but Bryce, you're gonna be okay. And for whatever reason, when I heard that, it settled me right down. And all of a sudden, my dad's a chiropractor. He said, put an ice pack under your neck and just lay down, on a table. I said, okay, Dad. And then he asked me if there was any wine anywhere I could go and find. I'm like, no, there's no glasses of wine in this horse park that we're competing in. And so, but I did settle my numbers down, and I still ended up going to the emergency room. And I got there, and they said, look, there's nothing we can find or see, but you need to stay on top of this. And I knew in that moment I was very, very stuck. Like I had let this all build up in a way that was not only unhealthy, it was unproductive. And if I kept going down this route, something bad's gonna happen health-wise. I couldn't do this anymore. And so that was a major decision point for me personally. I said, I cannot keep doing it this way. The next 8 years to present day, everything has been different for me. And the reason is because of this GEAR framework that I wanna give to you. There's these mental shifts that I made along the way that changed everything for me, to the point now where I get to be a Guinness World Record holder. I feel like I get to represent Monster Jam in an extremely unique way for the brand as a whole, not just Mohawk Warrior. I love representing a truck. I love being almost like a character, right? But I get to do this in motorsports because I really believe motorsports is the most dynamic industry in the world. I just don't think most motorsports do motorsports very well. They still think it's 1995 when Dale Earnhardt was, representing a brand. That's not what this is, right? And so I love the fact I get to travel the world and do those things. I get to speak all over the world now, right? We published my book last year. It's called Geared for Life. It's back there, shameless plug, right? I get one more shameless plug though. I feel like if you're going to be a speaker, you gotta at least give a shameless plug at some point. I get one more, all right, in my presentation. Is that fair? I'll negotiate. You can say no. Okay. So one more shameless plug with my book. But I get to do that and represent. I've had so many messages coming from that book and people saying this simplified things for me, right? So the fact that I was in that decision point, stuck, feeling like I don't know where to turn from here. I was in an emergency room. I knew something had to change. When I look back from that moment to today, these 4 elements changed everything for me. Can I share them with you? Okay, so the first one, it's our GEAR framework, is G, right? And G stands for grow. Now, here's what's great though. I'm not just gonna bore you with information. We're gonna use some truck videos to drive this home. Is that fair? All right, so the people that have been to Monster Jam events, you've seen backflips. I feel like second to saves, backflips are the most exciting. And so this was a couple of years back. Pretty easy, pretty simple. But that's great. Can I show you what it looks like from my perspective? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, not a bad day at the office, right? Yeah? Okay, but this is how we actually do it. When I turn this corner, I'm going to look at that backflip obstacle and pick a focal point. I'm going to find something that might be about as big as a quarter. And I'm going to focus on that all the way in and approaching it, and I'm not going to look at anything else. And as soon as those front tires hit that backflip obstacle, I'm going to give it 100% throttle to get it to bounce. As soon as I see the dirt come back into my field of view, that's what I'm looking for, I get off of the throttle and I hit the brake because those tires weigh 600 pounds each, right? So multiply that by 4 and now all of a sudden that's a lot of mass that when they're spinning, the physics of it want it to rotate. If you stop the spinning, it slows that rotation down. Because I would prefer to land a backflip and not crash, and I've done plenty of both, and thankfully this one was a pretty easy landing on that one. But here, this is what it looks like full speed. Again. Easy, right? You guys can do that now. But it's so interesting because let me ask you a question. The pandemic and COVID and all that stuff, it was good in the fact that it opened our minds up to, getting on Zoom and thinking about ways to learn. And man, you were forced to have to do that, right? Remote learning and stuff. You figured it out, right? Could I have learned that off of a Zoom call? What if Monster Jam, when they first came to me and they said, hey, look, we want you to start doing backflips. Could they have said, by the way, we've got a driver podcast. And I want you to go listen to this podcast so you can start to learn how to do it. And then, you'll do one this weekend. Like, no. All that stuff is good. There could have been a book written on it. But nothing stands in the way of me going into the locker room and there was a driver named Scott Buteau. All right? Scott Buteau, he drove the Hot Wheels truck and he drove a lot of trucks through the years. I think I saw him crash on one backflip ever. He was so good at them. One World Finals, he did 3 in his freestyle run. He did 3. Landed them all. Never broke anything. And so I went up to Scott Buteau and I grabbed him by the shirt and I drug him out there to the floor, right? And then we were in Minneapolis and I'm like, okay, show me how to do this. Teach me how to do this. And Scott looks back at me, he says, Bryce, look, I've seen you drive. You're going to be totally fine. You can do this, right? He said, but what you want to do is as soon as you turn that corner, right, you're going to face the backflip obstacle. You're going to pick a focal point. As soon as the front tires hit that obstacle, you're going to give it all the throttle you got. When you see the dirt come back into your field of view, get off the throttle and hit the brake. And you hope you land it, right? Okay, great. But now did that end there? No, because I had to grab him by the shirt and when we went and looked at the dirt ramp, I said, okay, but you're saying hit it when I hit the container. So not the dirt right here, not the transition right here. Well, we're looking at the exact point where he's like, I probably do hit it right before I hit the metal box. So it's specific information that he was giving me. And so when I talk about having growth, I don't mean just grow in numbers and things. It's a recommitment to personal growth. But to me, it was all about finding that mentorship again. I think that is what COVID killed, was mentorship. I think COVID enabled us to say, oh, we can get around, we can get the information that we need, but without that personal touch to grab somebody that has what we need, right? And I think a mentor, by the way, the best definition I could ever give anybody, it's somebody that can see the future with you in it. If you want to mentor somebody, right, it's because you believe in that person. It's because you know what they're trying to go and accomplish and do. Scott knew that I could land a backflip because he could see my driving abilities. He could see me being successful in that thing. And that's what I needed in that moment. And so I had to get back to a recommitment to personal growth, knowing that Scott had something that I needed. And so, man, you guys here, you're shaping human beings every day, aren't you? And my challenge to you is they're coming to you like a pit stop, like I went into Scott Buteau. And if there's not enough to give them, right, then they're going to go somewhere. They're going to find it somewhere else. And so this is the mental shift that I made, is that you cannot fuel others from an empty jug. If I look back when things really changed for me, it was because I became dogmatic about going out and getting the type of information. Yes, I still listen to podcasts to this day. I still read a lot of books. Okay? I listen to guys like a Myron Golden, if anyone's seen him, or an Alex Hormozy. He does a lot of business stuff. Nathan, I think you'll like Alex Hormozy. But I still input this. Myron Golden, this guy that I've really kind of attached myself to. I don't know him personally. He's not a mentor for me. But he still has I found a 3-hour audio from him sitting around a table with people and just dropping truth bombs. I've got that thing on loop still. I've not arrived. I've got stuff I want to go and accomplish. But people come to me always looking for a fill-up. Always. Because of my platform and where I'm at. And I know that you can relate to this. Sometimes it's exhausting. And you pour out day after day after day. But you cannot pour into people from an empty glass, can you? You cannot fuel others from an empty jug. You've got to control the things that are going in so that when someone comes to you and is asking for a fill-up, you've got something good to give them. And it's a tough position to be in, but I know that you guys are up for it, okay? So what's G stand for? Grow, that's right. Okay, E. E is engage, all right? Now, I've shown you some highlights, and you guys think that I just always do the right thing. Can I show you the opposite? Like, let's get real. I'm human. I want to show you the most embarrassing moment of my driving career. Can we do that? Yeah. I know you want to see it. I can see it in your eyes. All right, this is actually my first backflip. Okay, so this is after I grabbed Scott and he gave me all the information. It didn't go so well. All right. Oh, and it was in the backyard of my brand new sponsor, Great Clips, with the president up in the suites who had been told, we're going to let Bryce do a backflip tonight. Okay? They said, it's his first one. This is how it went. Oh, how pitiful. How absolutely pitiful. Oh man, I don't think Scott Buto talked to me for like 3 weeks after that. He's like, dude, what? How did you mess that up so bad? And I think the pyrotechnics, did you notice the pyrotechnics? Let me show this to you again. Notice the pyrotechnics, like the hosts are getting them all pumped up. They're shooting fireworks off. Oh, I mean, what an absolute letdown. I was really embarrassed, you know. You know what's even more terrible? I thought I went high. Like I climbed out of the truck like I just, was 20 feet in the air and just, because I'd never done it before, right? But I did not know. As much as Scott gave me that I did know, right? Turn the corner, pick a focal point, hit it as soon as the front tires hit the dumpster, get it to rotate, and look for the dirt to hit the brakes and land it. I knew that. But what I didn't know was how hard it hit that wall. I didn't know just how abrasive, because I'm still thinking like, it's still got shocks and these big giant tires. Like I didn't think it was going to be so abrasive. And so when I turned that corner, because one of the golden rules of driving a Monster Jam truck is do not leave your foot up near the brake, right? If I jump a truck 35 feet in the air, right, and I land it and my foot's near the brake, you just never know what can happen. You don't want to ride the brake and get the brakes hot. It's a golden rule. Well, when I turned that corner to steady the truck to line up, I used the brake to turn. The problem is I never dropped my foot away from it. And so because I did not know that the dumpster was so abrasive like that, it was hard for me to avoid tapping the brakes. So as soon as I touched that dumpster, it threw my foot forward just enough to kill all of my momentum. And so I've learned through the years, like what you don't know actually costs you the most. But that, for me, the mental shift that I made through this moment, that for the last 8 years have allowed me to continue to excel, to stay unstuck and to find my next gear, is the fact that half commitments are more dangerous than full ones. The number of people that come to me and asking for help, and I'm sitting across from them, I'm hearing their dreams, I'm hearing what they want to do, and usually the ones that really get it, they understand the impact and influence and opportunity to make a difference. But the number one issue I usually see with that is their plan Bs. Most people have a safety net. Most people are going through their goals and through their life and their dreams with one foot on the gas, but they still have that left foot up there near the brake. And then they wonder why they flop on what they're trying to go and accomplish, like I did. Because what you don't know usually costs you the most. You don't know what you're about to hit, and then all of a sudden it just throws your foot forward just enough that you say, man, maybe this other thing is better for me. Maybe I don't need a degree and I should just go ahead and go over here and work full time with that, right? Maybe this doesn't matter as much as that matters. Maybe I should just go home and work in the family business and give up on this motorsports dream. It's usually the backup plan, the brake pedal, that costs people the most. Would you agree? Have you seen some of your students go through that? But I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you with this. Because here you're educators, and I know you get exhausted. And I know you have to hear probably more problems than solutions because they're coming to you to hopefully get the solutions or complain, right? I know. I've never been a professor, but I couldn't do it. So you are special human beings. But the opportunity to go in and do that, I want to ask you something. If you and I were sitting across having coffee, I'd ask you, what's your brake pedal? And how close is your left foot to your brake pedal? Or are you truly all committed in making sure that you're turning these passions into careers for these kids, right? So what's E stand for? Engage. All right, we're moving right along here. A stands for assault their senses. Can I show you, I'm gonna show you a video of a backflip, and I think it's in Tampa. It's two different fan reactions from separate sides of the stadium, same backflip, okay? This is what I love about motorsports and Monster Jam. Look at this kid. It's not just for the kids and the families. Like everyone, you see everybody in the stands too. Everyone loves it. I heard a coach, I know we're kind of basketball country, sort of. Like I'm a Duke basketball fan. I really haven't been watching them as much, but I'm a big Mike Krzyzewski fan, okay, Coach K. And yeah, we've got Duke in Carolina, so every time I go somewhere in the country and they say they like college basketball, I'm like, nothing compares to Duke-Carolina rivalry. I'm sitting in a room about like this, and Coach K is in this private session. And now Coach K has coached the Olympic basketball team to gold medals. He wrote a book. By the way, you want a good book? The Gold Standard by Coach K, by Mike Krzyzewski. The Gold Standard is phenomenal. That's a Doc Jarvis book. You probably have read the Gold Standard. He is the Gold Standard, right? He's probably in the book. There's a whole chapter on Dr. Jarvis. Oh, man. But we're in a room like this. And he said, look, when I get my team together, he said, I never just put them in a theater to watch a movie. He said, the reason is because memories only go so deep when it's just sight and sound. He said, if you're gonna get these guys to truly go through this process and engage at a very deep level, he said, you need to hit as many senses as you can. That changed my mindset. It changed the way I interact with fans. It changed the way I drive the truck because it made me realize the reason why motorsports is so incredible is because it assaults everyone's senses when they're there. It's not just sight and sound, is it? Like, yeah, what they see the trucks do, it like defies logic in their brain, right? It is loud, right? Bring the earphones if you haven't been. You can smell the dirt, right? You feel the trucks. As I go by with my 1,500 horsepower truck, you feel the seats rumbling underneath your butt. And you're doing all that while you're eating cotton candy, right? It's hitting all five. That's why motorsports can be so powerful. It's because of the memories that are being made for these people that come and experience it. It's not just for kids. That's my biggest pet peeve. It's my biggest pet peeve. It's like, oh yeah, the kids love that, don't they? I'm like, they do. And every other age group I've ever seen that sat in front of a Monster Jam event. Because I don't care if they're 75, like they're getting their senses assaulted. And just for fun, I was talking to two ladies at a conference yesterday. Both of them had children that were autistic and at some point on the spectrum. I think one of the things that blows my mind the most is the number of conversations I have with parents where their kids are somewhere on the spectrum, and they always come to me and they're like, this is the only thing that should overload their senses, but for whatever reason, they're obsessed with it. And they're like, I can't figure it out. I'm sure that's not true across the board, but if I told you I've had 50 conversations, it's been 75 like that. And yesterday it happened again. They said, we can't figure it out, but Renee, the one lady, she was like, Renee absolutely loves it. Renee's 25. Still loves Monster Jam, loves coming around. And if it's sound that overloads and bothers her, then all of a sudden I think it's either sight or the feeling that they get that enables them to kind of get past the thing that they struggle with. And all of a sudden, I've got this theory, by the way. I'm going off on a little rabbit trail, but here we are. We're hanging out, aren't we? I've got a theory that, and I asked the two parents this yesterday. I said, do you think that this could be true based on your children? I've never parented an autistic child, so tell me if I'm wrong. I said, so most of the time if someone is somewhere on the spectrum, like they have, almost like they struggle with one of the senses, but maybe as with the other one of the 5 senses, they're so heightened that as long as that one sense that is heightened is being fed, for lack of a better word, like does it almost band-aid over the one that they struggle with? And they said, absolutely. Absolutely. They said if we can make sure that they're just doing the one of the 5 senses that really just they love to feed as much as they can, the other ones don't matter. And I think I genuinely think that that's why they love motorsports and Monster Jam. But it's a lesson that I've learned through this. Because even though assault their senses, like I'm not trying to do that for those 2 ladies and their kids coming out to a Monster Jam event. But I look at every single person sitting in the seats and saying the type of memories that they're making are going to run so deep that a movie theater, they're never going to be able to compete with what we do. There's really 2 ways of thought in motorsports, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of a lot of these other motorsports, because they're all about the ego. I want to be about the memory. Through this whole process, that was my 3rd mental shift that I made, was to make memories and not egos. I want to make memories. I want to make sure that whatever I gave and whatever that person understood about Monster Jam by the time they left, maybe by the time they walked through my pit party line. What am I doing to them? Am I just talking to them? Because how many senses is that? Really 2. They're looking at me and talking to me, right? It changes the high five. I make sure we give them a good high five. Why? Because they felt it, right? I might point out if I can't really high five or have that moment with that family, maybe I'm pointing out some sort of smell because I'm trying to connect more senses. I threw a handful of popcorn at someone in the face no, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. But I'm always thinking about that because I want to make memories and not egos. And if the moment that I made that switch and I started to get unstuck, that was probably the biggest mental shift that I made. Because could you imagine, like, it's so easy, it would be easy for my ego to get fed through what I do, right? I mean, I go around, I'm in these massive stadiums full of people, and there's 55,000 people there, and my name hits the lights, and my theme song comes up, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is the Bryce Kenny time. It would be easy to do that. But in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, man, let's go make a memory for these people who are sitting in these seats. I'm not better than anybody, right? It's simply a commitment to making sure that I don't get stuck ever again. That helps me find my next gear. All right, you ready? Shameless plug. Right? We negotiated this, people. We negotiated. You said we could. No, I'm really kind of kidding because that make memories and not egos, when I tell you it's a foundational belief for me, I've got a whole chapter in my book about it. You can't shake me from this. You couldn't come up here and you couldn't convince me otherwise. And you're like, well, yeah, Bryce, sure, ego's always bad. Not in the right way, right? We could have a whole debate about that. But the point and the reason why that is a foundational belief for me, because Geared for Life, that's what I share my 7 really foundational beliefs. It's my 7 gears. I go in and out of those gears every single weekend I go out. I go in and out of those gears as a father. I go in and out of some of those gears as a husband. And that's what the whole book's about. It's sharing my 7 personal gears. But I dedicate an entire chapter to making memories and not egos. Because we've constantly, when you're exhausted and you're tired and you are about to leave your office and finally go home after a day of educating, and that one problem student, walks in 5 minutes before you were supposed to leave, and you're just like, you might as well have been holding a giant balloon and they walked in with a pair of scissors, right? Pop. And you're just like, how long can I do this for? In that moment, I hope your brain goes back to this. I hope your brain goes back to, yes, I can sit there and encourage this person, but what kind of memory could I make for this student in this moment? And I promise, if you have that kind of mindset and you find that gear, oh, that's where stuff really starts to unfold. Okay? All right, so what was A? What was G? Grow. Oh, that was good. I almost got Nathan on that. What about E? Engage. A? Assault their senses. All right, R. This one's good. All right. I will call this kind of a life hack, and this is where we'll kind of wrap everything up. And I'm from North Carolina, so I get a country saying. Is that okay? You get one country saying. R stands for risk it for the biscuit. Okay, I put myself physically through a lot of pain, being a professional crash test dummy. Monster Jam also hates it when I say that. So just don't tell them I said all these things. So, but I put myself through a lot physically. This was in Atlanta 2 months ago. And Saturday, I think we had the biggest air in Monster Jam history. I went so high up in the air. I think it was about 40-something feet. We don't really know because we don't have we didn't have a meter on it. I'm not going to show you that video. I'm sorry. But Sunday, I was so pumped, right? Because we had such a great Saturday night. I came out Sunday all pumped up, and we had some truck issues, and I couldn't steer the truck the way I needed to, and I kind of rolled the dice. I cartwheeled the truck by accident, landed on the pavement at Atlanta Motor Speedway on my roof. In case you're wondering, there's no suspension on the top of the chassis. It was the hardest hit of my career. In fact, after I kind of pogoed off of the back of the truck and I knew it was rotating because the pogo was on pavement, so I felt it bounce and I'm like, oh, you can hear me on the onboard. I'm bracing. I'm going, oh, because it was rotating and I knew if I already hit the pavement, it's rotating onto the pavement. It's right after the finish line. So if we watch the Atlanta Motor Speedway race this year and like there's just some freak accident that's right after the finish line towards the inside of the track, don't come looking at me, all right? This was after that crash, okay? And the guys are starting, and I finally kind of am climbing out, but like they knew I needed help, and my legs kind of like a baby giraffe. But I want you to hear something. Can you hear those fans? I don't know if that's a volume knob or not. I'd play it again and blast the volume if I needed to, but I know you heard that. Imagine 35,000 people screaming your name. Would you forget you're in pain too? I forgot about my pain, right? And it wasn't because they were feeding my ego. You know what it was? I knew that they just got their senses assaulted, right? But I was living in that moment. I forgot all the pain. All those guys, you know why there were so many people there to pull me out? It's because they were trying to pull me out immediately and take me to the ambulance, which was already waiting for me because they knew it was a bad hit too. And so thankfully, like you saw the guy that was following, he was walking with me up to the stands because they knew like, one bad little shift or all of a sudden, what if I am concussed, right? He's there to grab me and take care of me. Monster Jam is very great when it comes to that stuff and very sensitive to driver safety, which I really appreciate. So does my wife. But they were there to grab me and take me away, right? But I forgot all about that because they were freaking out so much that I just wanted to be in that moment with them and throw my head sock and just get to celebrate that they just got to witness a little bit of carnage too. My question is, do you think I did that for a trophy? Do you think I put myself physically through what I do because I want to win a freestyle competition only? No, I don't. I want to win, trust me. I want the trophies like that. The trophies aren't bad. They're really good to have a target and to have a reward and an award, right? The trophies are not a bad thing. But what I started to understand when I started really finding my next gear and getting unstuck, I stopped letting the trophies only to motivate me. I started to realize one major thing, and that's what's at stake. The reason I'm intrinsically motivated, no one has to motivate me. A lot of times Monster Jam and everyone in the office, they're pulling the reins back on me, right? When my feet hit the floor, we got to go to work. And it's not because I'm a harder worker than everybody. I try to outthink my problems. I try to always grind and strive. And I just feel like, man, I've got such an opportunity here. But I don't do that for the money. I don't do that for the trophy. I do that because if I don't do it, then what if that one kid, that one family, that one 65-year-old that's been stuck in the same gear for years, what if they stay stuck? If I do push myself and I do continue to grind and to strive and to go and to just physically exert myself with that, what if there's the one person out there that I do get unstuck and help them find their next gear? Isn't that worth it? I have new drivers that come into the sport and that's all they care about. They want to win a World Finals championship worse than anything. And guess what? I do too. I really do too. But if I had the choice, right, to have a World Finals championship and etch my name into history, or have that one person get their life changed because they happened to be inspired by something I did on the track or off the track, I want that one moment. I want to help that one person get unstuck. And so my last mental shift I want to share with you, and this was a big one for me, like I said, life hack. Date the trophy, but marry the stakes. Date the trophy, but marry the stakes. You're educators. You're shaping human beings and their minds. And what I love about UNOH is they also get their bodies shaped, and not because there's a great exercise facility, but because it's a hands-on environment, right? You talk about assaulting their senses. I mean, you guys can do it here on UNOH. You guys, I wasn't here for 5 minutes and you guys threw me in your drift car, right, on the drift pad. Like, give me a, you don't think I'm going to, remember that part for the rest of my life? Well, think about the opportunity that you have for these students as they come into your classrooms and what you're doing. My question to you is, yes, you can do it and they graduate. That's a really great trophy. But what if they don't? What if they don't stay? What if they don't get those 5 minutes with you? That could mean everything. I know you're tired and exhausted at that moment and you're ready to go home. What if they don't get that piece of encouragement that could change everything in their life forever? And I know it feels like pressure, but don't take it pressure. Allow this mindset to allow you to see the things that happen if we don't go out there and strive and grind and be at our best. That's what enables me to go out there, and I've got a commitment to personal growth because of what I believe is at stake off of my career. I allow myself to fully engage, right? And go full out instead of making these half commitments that majority of human beings do. I do that with a mindset of I'm going to go out there and assault their senses so that their memories go deeper and they never forget the experience that they have with me. And I know it better than anybody else. I think in motorsports at what's at stake. That's why no one has to motivate me and to go out there and make another piece of content or to put a talk together or to write and publish a book. Like, no one has to motivate me to do that because what if I don't do it? That's what scares me more than anything. You have such a remarkable opportunity because you're motivated, yes, by those awesome pieces and elements that come of being an educator and shaping minds. But you have an opportunity to truly make the kind of ripple effects that can only be found on a university's campus just like this. I get so excited because I hear the stories from your students as they come and all of a sudden they're in our world, they're in our culture. I hear their stories that they have with you guys here on campus. They are remarkable. You are doing so much of this correct. But the next time you're exhausted, you're tired, can you do me one favor? Just go back to this G.E.A.R framework. Allow it to remind yourself of what's at stake and don't feel like you've got to have all of the answers. Your career where you're at now, you're like, oh, this isn't where I thought I would be at X age. Guess what? You're human, I'm human. We all feel like that. I thought I would have had a World Finals championship before now, we all feel like we're not quite where we thought we were going to be. And we get frustrated because we don't have all the answers. You don't need all the answers. But what you do need is to not rely on the gear that you've been in. You need to find a new one. And that does take courage. And if you can have that courage to just simply find your next gear, then everything will change. And those ripple effects of those lives of those students that come here and get their lives changed forever with the type of staff that you are, I cannot wait to be the benefactor of the next great product that comes out of this university, right? So thank you guys so much. I've loved being with you. And if I can ever help you, please let me know. I love sending videos. I love doing things like that. You never know. Maybe I can pop back up on campus and hit a couple classrooms. But you're doing so great. You're doing better than you think you are. And I am one of your biggest cheerleaders out there in Monster Jam and in the world, okay? So thank you guys, and thanks for letting me come by.